All right, welcome to this video. Honestly, long awaited one for the channel. Super excited to be doing this one. Ella, I'm gonna give you a chance. Feel free, introduce yourself, kind of walk people through where you're from, who you are, really any information you kind of want to throw in there. And then from there, we'll go ahead and kick things off. All right?
Okay, sounds good. My name's Ella. I am actually from Canada, a little small town in BC. It's called Kelowna. I started off in commercial real estate, and at the start of last year, I ended up getting into appointment setting. So I've been doing that ever since.
Yeah, luckily it's gone relatively well. I think last month, correct me if I'm wrong, you wrapped it up at about 5,000.
Yes,
Yeah,
finally.
we'll
I've been
we'll
waiting on
we'll
that one.
yeah, we'll call it that. I know we're rounding up, but that's okay. It's not that far. But yeah, I mean that's super cool. Walk me through how long it's been, by the way, since you had been doing the commercial real estate. I think it's been a while.
Yes. Okay. So I started off at the mid-March of 2025, and I was on so many different accounts. I didn't actually get Sergio's help until June. So from March to June, I was just like trying my own thing, cold outreach from my personal account to like random accounts that I could find, trying to vet them myself, I guess. And I wouldn't say I wasted any time because I think everything's a learning lesson, but it definitely could have been sped up a bit. It took a while for me to actually start making some money, but still super grateful for that
Yeah.
experience.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure what you're referring to is somewhat of like a corporate type of like sales position almost. So it's something that is in like real estate or any type of like bigger industry like that. I'd imagine you were tied down to kind of like one location or what did that like whole situation look like in terms of where you had to be, how long you had to work, etc.
Gosh, yeah, it was like as 9 to 5 as you can get. It was in the office at like 7:30 a.m. and then I wouldn't leave until like 7:30 p.m. So I was spending so many hours just working for other people's dreams, I guess, and obviously not getting paid very well. Um, just not the vibe. It's hard to work for other people's dreams when they don't treat you well.
Yeah, I think a
Hmm.
lot of people can probably resonate with that too. It's like a lot of people aren't necessarily like confined into like an office. Some people are kind of dealing with like more physical type of jobs and whatnot. But the same pain, I guess, like commences, right? In the same like format, which is like lack of freedom, lack of time, lack of pay. Let me ask you this, like, was there, I don't know if there was like a specific moments or there was something you can recall where you were kind of like I might have to look into like a different situation because, that scenario probably wasn't going to be ideal for you.
I think it sounds kind of silly, but I kept getting promised a promotion pretty much every single month. And they said, yeah, like next month you'll get it. And then it just never happened. And they kept giving it to like people that were even newer than me. So I think that's the initial thing that made me realize this isn't aligned with what I want to do. I never wanted to work a 9 to 5 or anything like that. And then being in that situation, you kind of get stuck because there's just such like a overall mindset that that's normal and that's what you're supposed to do. Um, yeah, I guess it was that just realizing that I wasn't being treated for what I was offering.
Right. I think
Hmm.
it's like kind of like a waking moment almost. It's not necessarily like one specific thing that happened, but rather like this realization, kind of how you said.
Yeah,
What I was gonna
like months in
ask,
the making.
what I was gonna ask there is like, obviously your situation in terms of how you got into like this line of appointment setting was a little bit different. So just to give people some context, you were obviously referred over here with somebody that already had success, and so I'm pretty sure it was way easier for you to kind of like go through the process of realizing like this works, this is probably going to work for me, this is something I can do. But kind of walk me through that, like how it felt seeing somebody else kind of live the way you wanted to live, and like where that all kind of connected.
Mm. It was mind-boggling. It was like Braden, he was doing everything I ever wanted to do. Like we lived together at the time as well, and he was sleeping in as I was getting ready for work, and working in the bed while I was getting ready, and it was just like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing
Yeah.
this? This sucks. I want to do that. So definitely getting into it was a lot easier because of him and seeing that, for one, it's real. Like a lot of people tell you online work is a scam, but obviously it's just because they haven't tried it or looked into it enough. But yeah, that honestly, I'm so grateful that he did everything before me because I don't know if I even would have found appointment setting if I didn't know him and like see him succeed so well or so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. And sometimes I think people, I kind of totally understand where you're coming from because it's hard for people to make that jump when they don't have the same conviction I guess you would have, where literally the person you're with 24/7 is like living the life, right? You can clearly see it's not, I don't know, anything to be concerned about. Obviously, there are things out there that you want to make sure you're wary of, but yeah. So context there, right? He ended up joining me. He was actually referred to me by somebody else as well. We ended up helping him. He's got crazy results. He obviously like, he's doing things the way he envisioned it. And we basically got the same type of system going where he referred him or he referred yourself to myself. And I don't know if that makes sense, but you have gotten to a point where you've now, set out the actual the pathway for you to basically go down the route of actually building the life that you actually did want, right? So, walk me through a little bit as to like what life looks like now that's different when you were doing like the other commercial real estate gig.
Hmm, that's a good question. I think the biggest thing is not having to go into a cold, dark, like gloomy office with people that I don't feel aligned with.
Mm,
That's a huge part of it. And just being able to, either one, be in my apartment, that I finally got, which was a huge goal for me. Um, so just like working from home and being able to have that flexibility with my schedule and, work from a coffee shop if I want to, or, go on a hike and answer DMs if that's what I feel like doing that day. It's the biggest part is not feeling stuck or restrained.
yeah, I think the word that can like best describe that is actual freedom, right? As having the ability to be able to be like where you really want to be, right? Like you mentioned, going on a hike or coffee shop. Those honestly, when I got into appointment setting, was probably like my favorite thing. Like money is obviously cool; it's gonna come naturally. I think it's just the ability to be able to actually do things when you want. I think a lot of people don't have experience with, and that is, I think, the biggest needle mover. Yeah, so we talked about, your commissions in terms of, what you've been able to hit last month. Let me ask you this, now that you've gotten to that point, is it a little bit more feasible for you to be able to get to a point where you can make, multiple five figures a month? Like how more realistic is that for you now that you're in the vehicle, you've seen what can happen? Like where are you at there?
Oh my gosh, yeah, 100%. It's also like who you're like surrounding yourself with too. So in Kelowna, obviously we have a bunch of entrepreneurs as well. And when everyone that you're with is making like multiple like six figures a month or even um, seven figures, it it definitely opens up your mind so much and just being able to achieve the goal of living on my own and replacing my 9 to 5 income. The fact that I did that has just opened my mind to all the possibilities that working remotely and like appointment setting can take you. Uh, So that's been really cool actually. And just like the freedom, like life doesn't have to be, you know, in an office, I guess.
Right. You don't have to be in that environment. I think is the best way to put it.
No.
Um,
Yeah.
and it's funny that you say that because like if I took a step back, maybe like 5 years ago when I was kind of working 9 to 5, I was working at a warehouse. It's hard to believe it, right? It's hard to think that all of this is actually, something realistic that can happen for you. But I think a lot of it comes down to, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but support, guidance, conviction, and all of those things, luckily you obviously had, right? So I guess I'm curious, right? Like if you were speaking to somebody who's, working a 9 to 5, they were in the exact same situation you were speaking to yourself, like not that long ago, what would you advise them in terms of the steps to get to where they're actually trying to get to, where they're building freedom? Like, what would that look like? Would it be, learning a specific skill set? Obviously, we're talking about a setting here, but what would the path kind of look like if you were kind of talking to your older self?
Mm, very good question. I think it would be don't be afraid to take the risk of doing what you actually want to do. Like if there's something in your head, like a dream that you've always had, or like even just your intuition, it was put on your mind and on your heart for a reason from whatever you believe in, like a higher power if you want. Um, and you have to follow that, I think. And for me, that's what it was. Like I always knew I wasn't supposed to work a 9 to 5, and I thought that commercial real estate wouldn't be like that because they always say like as a broker, you can do what you want, hang out what you want, hang out with whoever you want, and like make your own deals. But it's not like that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I would also say, um, just pay the money to get ahead. Like whatever that is, take the shortcut because it's so much easier and it's worth it to not, you're not wasting time ever, but it's so much better if you just kind of take that leap and get the support that you actually need rather than trying to
Sure.
figure it out on your own. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of people, like some people will say there are no shortcuts in life. I would disagree, right? I would disagree when it comes to getting support, right? Getting guidance, learning from somebody who's like, directly or has done exactly what it is you're trying to do. So that kind of leads me to my next question, right? We've obviously spent a lot of time together. And for context, for anybody watching, I actually like personally worked with Ella on a one-on-one basis, because I was working with a Done For You client, which like she was a part of that team basically. So you spent a lot of time with me. Honestly, it was like daily at some point. What do
Yes.
you think about the support just that you've gotten in general, whether it was from myself or anybody you connected with like inside of the program, but like how did that actually help you get to a point or get to this particular point, and how is it helping you kind of going forward?
Mm. I think for me, the biggest thing I wanted to do was make sure that I'm continually improving my skill set and like improve my sales skill set, I guess. And being able to meet with you one on one was like actually insane. That was such a gift, I guess, because not only did I get to, you know, text you any questions I had, or sometimes we'd even meet on the calls when we were meeting every day, and we'd go over conversations that I was having, and we'd even check timestamps to see if my response rate was fast enough. Just having someone there to keep me accountable and keep pushing me forward and like to do better was exactly what I needed because I honestly don't think I would have gone as far as I have now without that support. I think I would have just like, I kind of think I would have given up. Like before we, before I guess I got your support, I was like so done and I just like, I didn't want to keep going. I didn't think I could actually do it anymore. And I just didn't believe in myself. And then Ray was like, okay, I think you should get on with Sergio. I think that'll help, obviously, your skill set and make you a better setter, but it's also for the mindset work as well. And making sure you have your why and keeping that in mind as you're going and not giving up on that and having the grit to keep going.
Yeah, no,
Does
that
that?
makes sense. And I'd
Okay.
probably argue, the work that we kind of did there in terms of the mindset, in terms of like keeping an eye on the vision, probably responsible for like more than 50% of everything that has happened so far. And it's probably going
Mm,
to be like, some of the main reasons as to like why success keeps coming your way, why you keep making more and more and more, is because I think, and I can, attest to this. I think you've gotten like a full understanding of what it means to hold on to it, even when things are not necessarily like going as planned right now, where I'm already not at 10K a month, but rather than kind of looking at it that way, I think we've figured out a way to like reverse engineer and make sure that 10K a month becomes inevitable. You know what I mean? Where in whichever path you end up choosing. So, yeah, that was a really good eye opener. I mean, I've focused on this with a lot of individuals, but I think this is something that like kind of stood out to me a lot, working with yourself. Let me ask you this. You have obviously been doing appointment setting not for the longest time, but I think towards middle of this year, end of year, you're probably creeping up on like using it as a catalyst. And this is what I tell everybody. Appointment setting is not the end game, right? 5K a month is not the end game, not even by any means. But now that you have all of this info, right, you're gaining the experience, you've seen what it's like to run a business on the back end. I mean, you can kind of choose whatever it is that you kind of want to do. I'm curious to know, Michael, where are you aiming? Where are you kind of looking to take things? Obviously, we're looking to make more money, but like, what are some things that have kind of stood out in terms of the direction that you're trying to go?
mm. I think for me, it's seeing all these business owners and seeing them, work towards their own dreams and goals and building the team to beyond that. And obviously I was a part of the team, so I saw that on the back end. Um, and that I kind of just realized like that's something I want for myself. I want to be able to, create the business that actually helps people and build out a team so that you don't have to be doing all like the legwork, I guess. Like I love making content. So that would be like ideal.
Yeah,
Making
if you
content and
guys,
then having
yeah, if you guys are curious, look up Ella's name on YouTube. The videos are actually good, by the way. I actually check like the
no.
most recent.
I
Don't
could
worry,
not
I
with
won't link it
that.
if you don't want to. But
You're funny.
no, perfect example, right? Content creation. Sure, you're partnered up with a coaching business, you're working with a coaching business, but like, all of that is feedback and things you can take away from that sort of business and apply it to, something like becoming full-time just content creation. Or I know, UGC is the thing, right? But those are, for example, like I would argue higher level skill sets to learn. But that's the point of appointment setting, right? It's like it's just a means of giving you freedom. It's a means of giving you more time, more capability to do things and test things. When with a 9 to 5, like, I don't know, did you ever feel like ever creative at all? Like, you know what I mean?
Oh no, it was horrible. I'd literally go home and watch what was that? Like Too Hot to Handle. I would
There,
put that
yeah,
on and just like
same.
go,
No,
yeah, sign out for the day. It's like, what? That is not a life that I want to live anymore. That was very sad.
yeah. So,
Hmm.
I mean, the capabilities are obviously endless, and I know on my end, by the way, like I mentioned, 20K a month, 25K a month is inevitable. However, which way you get there, it's just not going to surprise me because that's the point of appointment setting. It's a trampoline to kind of get you to the next level. Um, so cool. I mean, look, let's close it out. Don't want to make this too long than or longer than it has to be, Ella. But let me ask you this, just to close it out. Like, if you're, somebody, you put yourself in the shoes of somebody who's watching this video, they're a little bit on the fence. Maybe they want to join, maybe they don't. They're not really too sure. What would you tell that individual?
Hmm. That's so funny because I was just talking to someone about this the other day, that wants to start appointment setting. I would say just like keep your mind open to the possibilities that are there. Like, don't be closed off to anything. And if investing in a program or like support is scary, I think of the opposite of like staying in the same situation and how scary that would be if you just don't do anything. And money always comes back. So if it doesn't work, like at the end of the day, I guess you'll
Yeah.
make it back eventually.
Yeah, you take a lesson out of it. I think honestly the way you said that was perfect. A lot of people in today's world, I've noticed this actually, is like everybody's asking themselves, like, what if it doesn't work? Right? And I think a better way to reframe that thought is to ask yourself, like, well, what if it does? Like, if it does, I mean, is it worth the risk of like putting your money where your mouth is, or like borrowing money or financing, whatever it is that you have to do? I know I
Mm-hmm.
did that, right? When I got into this space, I did a lot of that, probably a little bit too much, but like I had enough delusion in myself to be able to make it happen. And so, obviously, you did it.
Mm-hmm.
You did yourself as well. Every other person that has had a client interview has like had enough, slight delusion in themselves to believe that they will succeed. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so
I
obviously that's
love
what we do
that.
here in terms of support. It's like it's not even a question. Like you're going to succeed however long it takes. It's just a matter of like how much work you're willing to put in. Any last minute thoughts, Ella, or anything you want to close us out on, or you're all set?
Mm, that's a good one. I would say just adding on to what you just said, make it work. Like don't quit when everyone else quits. If you just keep working at it and, at least make back your money, usually that's when everything pops off.
Yeah, happens all at
Does
once,
that make
right?
sense?
It does. It does. Cool. Awesome, Ella. Well,
Okay.
yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on here. Kind of just walking us through what your journey looked like. We'll probably have like a follow-up one when you've gotten to a point where you're making way more, just as a means of like catching up, showing people what it's actually like capable of doing. But yeah, anybody watching, the link is most likely going to be in the description in case you want to kind of book in and, replicate the success that Ella has had, where she has literally replaced her entire 9 to 5 income. Correct me if I'm wrong, you're in like a really, nice apartment. It's actually pretty nice. I see it all the time on your calls.
Yes.
And so you've gone ahead and like basically changed everything for yourself. So if you want to be similar to Ella, book in down below or send me a message on Instagram. But with that being said, I will see you all in the next one.